So that was about the medial medullary syndrome or Dejerine, okay, where anterior spinal artery is blocked. So now look at the what happens if the posterior inferior cerebellar artery will get blocked. So these arteries will come across when we are studying the blood supply of brain, each one. So this region of medulla is supplied by posterior inferior cerebellar artery. So if this artery gets blocked, so that will result in lateral medullary syndrome. Lateral part of medulla got affected, also called as Wallenberg syndrome. Okay. So here what happens? So now this is 10th cranial nerve. Okay, and then nucleus ambiguous. Okay, so these all will get affected. So you'll have wherever 10th, 9th, and then 11th cranial nerves. 11th cranial nerve is cranial part of accessory nerve. So spinal part of accessory, cranial part of accessory. So nucleus ambiguous gives fibers to glossopharyngeal and vagus and accessory nerve. So because this also will get affected, and dorsal nucleus of vagus also will get affected. So you'll have the same side, because from there the nerve will start. Okay, so this will be lower motor neuron. So from the nucleus, fibers going to the target organ. So any fibers coming to the nucleus will be, if that gets damaged, is what will be called as uh, supranuclear. Okay, so here what will happen is same side, ipsilateral paralysis of, so most of the muscles of your palate, pharynx, larynx. Okay, so which will help us in deglutition. Okay, so this may get paralyzed. Okay, so again, spinal tract of trigeminal, spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerves, and then spinal tract of trigeminal nerve. So if it gets damaged, so the same side, the information is coming from the same side of the body. In this, it is going upwards. So loss of pain and temperature in the face. So actually this spinal tract of trigeminal nerve that carries the sensations of pain and temperature from the face. Okay, so this, if it is affected, so on this affected side of the patient, he cannot sense pain or temperature on the face. Okay, and then there is also lateral spinothalamic tract, which has come from the other side and traveling here. So what will happen? So loss of pain and temperature of the opposite side of the body. So one side, so affected side of the medulla, the same side in the face, he cannot sense pain or temperature, but opposite side of the body, he cannot sense pain or temperature from where the spinothalamic tract is coming. And then vestibular nuclei and cochlear nuclei. So if they are affected, so he may have some, if balance is gone, he may have some giddiness, reeling, vertigo kind of symptoms, or some hearing issues might be there. Okay, and then damage to the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Okay, fibers going to the cerebellum, and then dorsal and ventral spinocerebellar tracts. So if these get affected, so person will have again problem with balance or equilibrium. So maintaining his position, standing, walking. So then when there is a disturbance in his gait, the way he walks, okay, that is called as gait. So when it is there, so it is called as ataxia. So he cannot balance himself, he cannot stand straight, he cannot walk straight. So it is called as ataxia. So there is loss of equilibrium and balance because information going to the cerebellum is damaged. Fine. So there will also be Horner syndrome because in this side, sympathetic fibers will be going towards their target organs, okay, which are coming from the hypothalamus. Those sympathetic fibers are traveling in the lateral hornos. They'll go to the lateral hornospinal cord. So they also will get damaged, and then person will develop Horner syndrome. Horner syndrome means ptosis of the affected side, that is eyelids drooping down, and then enophthalmos, the affected side eye looks smaller. Okay, meiosis, that is constriction of the pupil, and anhidrosis. Anhidrosis means loss of sweating. There is no sweating on the affected side. So these are the major clinical syndromes when the upper part of the medulla gets affected. But there are also two other conditions. Okay. So injury to lower part of medulla is directly fatal. As I said, respiratory centers, cardiac centers, vasomotor centers, they make it depressed. So the BP may go down totally. Okay. If the BP comes down, the systolic below 80 mm of Hg and diastolic below 40 mm of Hg, the person may go into coma. Okay. So not mandatory, but below 40, if it goes lower one, definitely very dangerous. Below 50. So below 40, below 30 means is gone. So even this occurs even in conditions of shock. So suppose a person vomits for 20 times in a day, it is enough. One vomiting is equal to 10 diarrhea. Okay, so if it for some persons, if the person is weak, one vomiting is enough for him to go to hypovolemic shock. Okay, but suppose some persons vomit for 5 or 10 times, then they lost fluid from the body, electrolytes they lost. So that can result in shock of the body. So that shock will reduce blood supply to kidney or blood supply to other organs. So it can happen like that. So at that time, BP and all will adjust. So at that time, if there is less blood in the whole system, okay, the BP may go down. Okay. So that is not directly related to medulla, but indirectly. So other clinical condition, there are two: bulbar palsy and pseudobulbar palsy. So bulbar palsy means lower motor neuron type of lesion, which affects the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th cranial nerves. Okay. So if those cranial nerves are affected, once they have come out of their nuclei, that is from the cranial nerve nuclei, the nerve has come out and the nerve is affected for whatever reason. So that will lead to, if it is bulbar palsy means it is not total paralysis, but there will be weakness. So weakness of muscles of the tongue, palate, pharynx, larynx. So the person cannot chew properly, cannot swallow properly, cannot talk properly. Breathing also will be a slight issue for him. So that is bulbar palsy. If the same difficulty is seen, but involvement of corticonuclear fibers, that is from the cerebral cortex to the nuclei of the cranial nerve. So if this pathway, supranuclear pathway is affected, so that is called as pseudobulbar palsy. The same features will be seen, but you will have almost paralysis of the same muscles of the tongue, mouth, pharynx, palate, larynx. Okay. So the pseudobulbar palsy can be caused in conditions like, one is syringomalia. We read syringomalia in the spinal cord. So around the central canal, formation of cavities. Those cavities will have pressure effect on the axons which are going from one side of the spinal cord to the other side. So which can get affected, syringomalia, particularly seen in the cervical region and upper thoracic region of the spinal cord. And then increased intracranial pressure. If there is for any reason rise in the intracranial pressure, so like because of a tumor or because of gliosis or because of whatever, benign or malignant any condition, or hydrocephalus. So if it affects the corticonuclear fibers, means from the cerebral cortex to the nuclei of the cranial nerve, the fibers coming, if these fibers are affected, or if there is vascular infarction, means blood supply is blocked or reduced or totally stopped. So any of these reasons can result if they are affecting the corticonuclear fibers. So that will result in pseudobulbar palsy. So there you will find upper motor neuron type of features. So that is exaggerated reflexes, that is tendon reflexes. Okay. So there will be some features where you can identify this is upper motor neuron type. So these are the clinical features of medulla if it is affected. So tomorrow we'll study about pons. One class is enough for pons. And then mostly day after tomorrow we'll finish the midbrain. Friday and Saturday we'll finish the midbrain. So next week we'll go into some other topics. Okay. So see you all tomorrow.